Welcome to today's webinar, and thank you for joining Scott Miller and me, Terry Swack, for the next installment in our Transparency is the New Green and Product Selection and Specification webinar series. And today our topic is Sales Enablement Solutions for Today's Urgent Product Transparency Challenges. So we're going to get right to it. We're going to start out with, well, what is sales enablement? And I'll talk a little bit about Sustainable Minds, who we are, for those of you who've not met us before, and what we've been working on for a while. And Scott will take over and talk about what Knauf has been working on for a while, and then collectively we'll show you what we've been working on for a while together to address the most urgent product transparency challenges, and then we'll take questions. It's 30 minutes, so we're going to keep it quick. And please put questions in the questions panel. Anything we don't get to by the end, we'll certainly follow up with, and you can leave questions also as you exit the webinar. So I love this term sales enablement because it's not a common term, but it really describes exactly the kinds of solutions that Sustainable Minds has been putting together to integrate product transparency into product marketing. And to do that, a cross-functional team has been required from the get-go to integrate technical knowledge with marketing knowledge, and ultimately powered by technology to get information out to everyone regionally, globally, in the field, in the office, so that there's continuity and consistency in how to get the job done. There's a lot been written about sales enablement. Here's some of the quotes from folks who are analysts or comment in the space. But it's literally about just getting the right information in the right format into the hands of the right people at the right time to move a sales opportunity forward. And that's what we're going to demonstrate today, how we've built these kinds of tools to drive preference and value for brands who have invested in product transparency. And these are the most urgent product transparency challenges as identified by a working group who came together at Greenbuild in 2017 and said, look, these are the top challenges. There's a need for education across the industry. There's a need to standardize both the technical guidelines and how the results get delivered. There's a need to be able to more easily find products with credible transparency information. And there's obviously the big need for manufacturers to be able to demonstrate an ROI for having made these investments. Sustainable Minds has been working on all of these challenges for quite some time, and that's why our solutions are already pretty well thought through and fairly sophisticated, as you'll see when Scott shows you some of the work that we've done together. But our mission as a company has never changed. Our mission for a decade now has been to operationalize environmental performance into mainstream product development and manufacturing for the purpose of driving revenue and growth through greener product innovation. And what we're doing now fits squarely into the bullseye of that mission statement. We have become over time and are today the only end-to-end product transparency solutions provider. We're a program operator. We deliver technical services, but most importantly, we've built and delivered a cloud-based platform and reporting tools to standardize the delivery of that information in a credible way to ultimately make it easier for manufacturers' teams to get that information, get it into the market, and create preference and value for their brands. We believe that product transparency is a great idea and does build credibility for manufacturers, but we believe not by just producing disclosures, that the real value in investing in product transparency is the ability for a manufacturer to demonstrate that they understand what that disclosure information means and that they can tell those stories to the marketplace about what they are actually doing to improve, to correlate their actions back to those disclosures. Because at the end of the day, the disclosures are just documentation to validate that some stuff is being measured. But if the manufacturer can point to, here's what we're doing and here's the results, that's that number one challenge that we looked at on the few slides earlier, which is everybody needs education across the industry about, and this is the key point, what is it that actually needs to be done to make higher performing products and high performance buildings. The disclosures are just documentation that something is being done. So we created the Transparency Catalog to showcase every single brand in the market who has invested either a little or a lot in creating transparency information. We want to shine a light and create preference for every one of those brands who has stepped up to take on this challenge. And because those four challenges are existent and have been for a while, the only way to address the problem is to build an educational marketing and sales enablement solution, not just a product database. And in fact, the Transparency Catalog has a database, but it's actually not a product database in as much as it's not a location where manufacturers are providing a lot of content about their products that then they have to maintain someplace else other than their website. We believe ultimately manufacturers spend a lot of money on their websites, which is where they want to ultimately drive traffic to get business done there. And so our solution builds on a manufacturer's digital presence and integrates those assets into one place that lets people find everything in one place and then ultimately drive them back to the manufacturer's website for more information and potentially to contact the manufacturer and do business with them there. We have great partners that we've lined up over the past couple of years. We're super proud of the MasterSpec relationship. We have been working on a vision to bring product transparency to the mainstream through mainstream tools. Partnering with Ron Blank has been a real honor to partner with literally the spec shaman, or shaman, that's his new book. And Chips brings a whole constituency of facility managers, government people, school district folks into the mix, in addition to architects, builders, and contractors. And of course, the catalog is designed to benefit both manufacturers and building professionals. And our focus is on brands. Today, we're going to talk about one of these featured brands, Knauf. And a featured brand is a brand that takes advantage of our transparency reporting tools. The Transparency Report, which is our brand of EPD, the Material Health Overview that makes material ingredient disclosure understandable and meaningful, and our third, the Performance Fact Sheet, allows manufacturers who have already a lot of disclosures to put those all in one place for product families or product lines and tell an integrated solution story. Our Transparency Report was really our first innovation. It is an EPD. This is our brand of EPD. It's in the cloud, it's 3 pages, and integrates all the product and functional information that somebody would need to be able to make an informed decision. And Scott's going to walk you through one of the transparency reports that they've created. The Material Health Overview takes any material ingredient disclosure program and again provides the functional information, all of the environmental performance information, and then tells the story of what is the material ingredient disclosure telling us? What does it mean? what's the manufacturer doing to improve, and of course, what credits in the green building rating systems do these documents help architects, builders, and contractors and owners earn. So with that intro, Scott, I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about what you've done over at Knauf.
Okay, thank you, Terry, and thanks for everybody, to everybody for joining today. This is really about simplification and the fact that we've really tried to integrate our sustainable development as a company, as our ability to project that information to design firms and even our sales force. And we'll talk about that a little bit. So as Director of Sustainability at Knauf Insulation for North America, and I handle product affairs as well, I'm well versed and keenly aware of the impacts that our products bring to market, and that I'm an engineer by training, and I do provide a lot of strategic input to the manufacturing, product development, and sales and marketing initiatives of how our products are positioned in the marketplace. We've had a lot of leadership over the last several years, whether it's the fact we were the first Green Guard certified product, or the fact we launched a bio-based chemistry that was very transformative in the marketplace. These are all things that demonstrated leadership. And, you know, all of you who are familiar in the sustainability realm, you're always looking for, okay, what's the next big thing? Well, you know, once you get pretty good, it's kind of hard to keep doing things that seem wonderful. So in a lot of respects, it's about telling your story and how you got where you got. So we're going to talk about the project builder today, because I think it's the next big thing for us. And it really is about simplification and integration of information. You know, we've had this transformative impact. How do we tell our story? How do we get credit for market transformation? How do we get our EPDs and declare labels, HPDs, or any certification or validation in front of people, and tell people what we're doing from a sustainable development standpoint? And how do we educate our field and territory reps? And you have turnover, you have retirements, whatever. You need a tool that helps facilitate their understanding of your company. How do we get that return on investment and not just be considered a me too? And to be honest, our information was scattered all over the place. Now it's lassoed and much more convenient. So the experience of design professionals, I would ask that all of you put yourself into the shoes of a design professional and to build say a green building. And how many hundreds or even perhaps 1,000 products that they go through and they have to make a decision upon. And, you know, they visit company web pages only to find kind of siloed information to click through. They're not sure what they really want. There may be a in-house sustainability person that's working for certain attributes and products, and they can't find the actual certifications without going to 2 or 3 different places. And sometimes, you know, design firms even hire summer interns to catalog materials and put stuff in folders or notebooks, which just seems archaic to me in today, but it happens. And that information becomes data very quickly. They're looking for differentiation, perhaps, for their customer, for their basis of design. They have trouble finding it. So what we've done is created a project builder to help facilitate that design firm, that perhaps internal salesperson, to better understand transparency and how to talk about the various transparency initiatives of your company. So if you really look at LEED V4 or the well building standard or the living building challenge, it requires much more information exchange and this can be very complex and overwhelming. Especially, I ask you to think about yourself in terms of putting yourself in the shoes of a design professional. I'm an insulation expert. I know a lot about it. I probably forget more in a day than perhaps a design person knows. And when you think about that and how to convey your information in a way that educates him, it's a very daunting task for him to do it on his own. So, we've had a lot of really good feedback from our field specialists and territory managers about this tool, because everything's in one place, and it works very well and works better than going to several different websites. And it allows our salespeople to do something they can't do now. This tool was designed holding hands with the design community. This is Dan Overby. He's somebody that I know well in Indianapolis. And he talks about how he needs to be able to educate people about product transparency in his own firm, and how this tool can help him educate and select products simultaneously. So with what we did with Sustainable Minds, it's really something better. We're going to talk a little bit about what the transparency report. I'm going to show you that in a health overview. Then I'm going to let Terry take you through the project builder. We believe truly that once an AEC uses this, they would just love to be able to do this for all the materials they have to select for a building. So I'm going to take you into the Knauf page. This is where you'll find our project builder and configurator library. And I'm just going to select the product. Then let's say we look at pipe insulation. And I'll click on the TR, which, as Terry explained, is the environmental product declaration for people to use in documentation packages for green buildings. And I can click on the LCA interpretation and results, and you can see the declared unit. You can see the database by which the EPD was developed, and the ingredients in the product. And we talk about how we make it greener over here a little bit, but there's much more explicit information than that. And this later on I'm going to show you. You can look at the total impacts by life cycle stage. You can look at raw materials acquisition, and you can actually find that our largest impact is raw materials acquisition. It's not melting glass. When you think about that, that's a pretty amazing thing. A lot of people think this is this big beast of a process. Well, it is a big process, but it's not the melting of glass that's our biggest impact. It's actual raw material selection. So we've learned as we use more and more recycled content, our impact even continues to go down. And what else? I'll show you very briefly that you can see the actual impact categories that are normally used to compare materials. If somebody wants to compare materials for potential ecological damage, so you can see all of our impact categories. You can see health damage, which is really a voluntary thing that Sustainable Minds puts together about the ingredients and products and potential health impact. And you can even get additional environmental information in this transparency report with regard to the PED, or fossil fuel depletion, ecotoxicity. So that's the EPD. That's the one of the primary things that somebody wants for a green building. And the other thing that we have is really the whole ingredient disclosure, how to address that issue. And we at Knauf, as many of you may know, we largely use Declare. I think we have about 15 different products with red list free declare labels, and we talk about how we also have some health product declarations, where health product declarations are used where we can't get red list free, because red list free is our benchmark, and we talk about that pretty extensively throughout this entire site, and how we make the product greener. And you can see the actual label, and you can click on labels and actually get that label as a download. I'm going to go back up to the page, and I'm going to go to the section called how we make it greener, and it's really allows us to talk about the environmental improvement steps that we take in our manufacturing, about the amount of recycled content we use, 10 rail cars a day, the fact that we use a bio-based binder, and the fossil fuel, the equivalent oil avoidance that represents. And we talk about the fact that what we've done from a bio-based chemistry standpoint has had an industry impact. And we talk about using regenerative thermal oxidizers in our process, and all of our ISO certifications, and the fact that we can compress our product, and that reduces its transportation footprint. So all these things actually tie right back into the transparency report. So you can actually see us throughout this site discuss how those impacts actually transport back into our EPD, and it's actually a really neat story tied up, and it simultaneously can educate both the design firm that's using this, as well as our internal employees, to give them a very firm grasp on our sustainable development as a company. And Terry, I'm going to hand this back to you, so you can take this and show them the project builder, which is how we've differentiated within the sustainable mines process. And that I think Terry would like to see other people do as well. Go ahead, Terry.
Scott. Thank you. And that was actually the first point I was going to make as well, which is that the project builder, configurator, and library this functionality is now available to every manufacturer who wants to become a featured brand in the catalog. It's additional functionality that can be added to a standard brand showroom. We've built now the infrastructure to deploy this, and now any manufacturer can have their field reps, their distributors, people inside design firms be able to come find products with transparency information. So now this is one massive lead gen funnel. It's all the products with transparency information. So let's move into a scenario. Let's say I'm a project architect in a firm. I'm looking to select and specify insulation for my project. Maybe I don't know that much about exactly which products for which application. So I'm going to use these handy filters to find floor insulation. I'm going to take a look at this Jetstream Ultra. Let's say I've spent a little bit of time looking through the transparency report, and I decide I want to, I'm going to start my project, and I want to use this Jetstream Ultra. So I'm going to click Start a Project. You can see the Jetstream Ultra is already there. I'm going to name my project as test. I can put in the client group. I can pick what kind of project it is. I can put in as much information as I like about the description of the project. And once that's all in, I can start to now select and configure my products. So now what we're doing here is we're actually helping people understand how to specify insulation. We've got this nice glossary there that you click on that. It has all the terms that somebody will encounter. They can leave notes about, geez, I don't really know how much I need right now. Or I'm thinking this is going to go in a certain location in the building. I might have multiple locations for that same product, so I can add a few instances of it. I can add increasingly more products for all the different types of insulation I'm going to need for my building project. And when I'm ready to save my project, I'm going to click Save Project. I've already set up my project library. The only information we require to set up a project library is a username, a password, and an email address. We don't collect information about users. We don't sell it. We don't use it for anything else. This is simply to enable the functionality to be available. So I'm going to log into my project library, and you're going to see that I have a lot of projects going on here. I have access directly to all the specifications for Knauf products. And I'm going to jump down here to a demo project to show you what a project that might be completed would look like. It's going to have all these products in it with some notes, some questions, but now I'm ready to go visit my client to start showing them here are the products that we're considering putting in the building. And I can certainly demo this, but it's probably easier to download the project. And so when I download the project, it's going to download a zip file that gives me not only every transparency report, so every EPD and every disclosure for the products that I selected, it's also going to give me this overview that is this page that I can print out, or this whole package can be emailed around. I have an instant submittal package for later. And here's the part that manufacturers will probably like the best, which is if I'm having trouble, I'm the architect, I'm having trouble, or I want to contact Knauf to get some specification help, I can do that right here. Or changing hats, let's say I'm a distributor, I'm a facility manager, I'm an owner who's doing some rehab work on a building, I can actually request a quote. And when I put this information in and send it, all of the configuration of the products that have been selected, all the notes, the project information goes right over to the manufacturer, in this case, Knauf. It's routed to the right person to respond. And now you've got really qualified leads, not people who are kind of kicking tires, but people who really are investing some time and interest in selecting and specifying your products. So that's a quick tour of the builder. Everybody who makes decisions about making marketing spend decisions always asks about, well, how much traction is the transparency catalog getting? Month over month, the traffic continues to increase. We get thank you notes. We work with design teams as we're doing more product development. We've got some exciting stuff happening next quarter. People are so thankful for just simple solutions that help them get in, get out. There's no login. It's really resonating, the user experience. It's well designed. It's just simple. And what's really been quite interesting are these stats from the Knauf Showroom. Since we launched it, not only have a lot of people come and looked at it and used it, what's super interesting is they're not coming and leaving. They're staying for a pretty good session duration, and they're looking at a lot of pages, and they're not looking and leaving. That's what bounce rate means. They're coming, they're clicking on stuff, they're engaging, and a lot of accounts have been, project libraries have been set up, and people are building projects. So it's really been quite an interesting project, and really satisfying to work with Scott and a company like Knauf, and we're here actually to share with the industry what we've learned, because if we all share information, it floats everybody's boat, and we get what we're all committed to doing, which is to build a higher performing built environment to reduce the impacts on the natural environment and human health. So that brings us to the end of today's session. And Scott, I want to thank you.
Well, thank you, Terry, and thanks everybody for joining us today.
And we'll take your questions on your way out and follow back up with you. We're going to do this session again next week. If you want to refer it to any of your colleagues or friends, you want to come again. I know we went through this rather quickly, but in the meantime, have a great August, and I look forward to connecting with each and every one of you. Have a great day.